Unseen footage. Trump's life-changing challenge revealed. It sounds like a sensational headline, right? But behind that seemingly overblown caption lies a story that has rattled close confidants, intrigued political analysts, and even inspired everyday people to question what they really know about the man called Trump. Tonight, I'm going to pull you into a narrative that's bigger and stranger than most suspect. Footage so quietly buried, so shrouded in rumor, that it's almost become modern folklore. Stick with me until the very last lines, because at the end of this epic tale, you'll discover the twist that not only redefines this life-changing challenge, but also might make you wonder about your own hidden potential in the face of adversity. His name was overshadowed for years by the swirling controversies, the headlines, the speeches, and the spectacle. People saw him as a figure consistently under the glare of public scrutiny. And yet, behind all that noise, there was a private dimension, moments documented on film but never broadcast, small glimpses of a figure who didn't always match the flashy persona the media cultivated. No, we're not talking about rehashed rumors or recycled press statements. We're talking about something unbelievably personal, a set of recordings shot on shaky handheld cameras that appear to show Trump in the midst of a challenge so uncharacteristically raw that it could rewrite the script of how we see him. Rumors of unseen footage first popped up on obscure online forums years ago, posted by anonymous users claiming inside knowledge. They talked about seeing Trump in settings far removed from boardrooms or podiums, places like dusty backlots, remote training facilities, even deserted farmland. Why? Some guessed maybe it was part of some secret business deal. Others speculated it was philanthropic, like a hush-hush mission to help communities away from the media. But the repeated mention of a personal challenge he had to overcome hinted at something deeper. Over time, bits and pieces began to leak. A snippet of a filming permit request in an out-of-the-way county, a rumor that some of his staff had traveled with him for weeks of unusual preparation. Yet no mainstream outlets touched it. It was just too bizarre or too unsubstantiated. But as the years rolled on, more fragments emerged, carrying the same buzzwords: footage, training, trial, transformation. Online conspiracists jumped at it. Some believed he was training in wilderness survival. Others insisted it was a spiritual retreat or a vow of silence, or even an advanced martial arts regimen. The speculation soared to comedic heights. "He's searching for alien artifacts in the desert," posted one forum user. Another insisted it was an elaborate reality show pilot that never saw the light of day. None of these theories, however, truly explained the consistent sense that whatever happened, it profoundly impacted Trump in a private, possibly life-altering way. Finally, an unassuming archivist from a small production company came forward. She claimed to have glimpsed footage labeled Private Commission, Project Renewal, dated over a decade ago. The footage, she said, was scattered across multiple tapes, some shot outdoors, some indoors, with inconsistent lighting. She only saw a few minutes, enough to notice a gaunt, exhausted Trump in a t-shirt, hair disheveled, engaged in a series of demanding tasks, lifting, climbing, even seemingly meditating in an empty warehouse. The archivist described it as shockingly vulnerable, not at all the commanding or flamboyant figure the public recognized. She tried to copy it, but she was told by her superiors to drop the matter. The tapes soon vanished. Of course, critics called it nonsense, a ploy for attention or a fabricated rumor for clicks. But more details leaked from other corners. A longtime security staffer quietly confessed to a friend that, during a certain stretch of months, "We traveled a lot to weird places, quiet countryside, big old barns, disused training fields. The boss said we weren't to speak about it." This staffer recounted how, on multiple mornings, Trump would rise before dawn and push himself to an extreme workout routine, aided by a few specialized trainers. The staffer got the sense it was for some personal test or dare. But the question was, who dared him, and to do what? One angle pointed to a decades-old rivalry. Another rumored a major philanthropic challenge, that a group of donors pledged huge sums to charity if he completed an extreme physical or mental test. Yet all we have are half-baked stories. Over time, the hush-hush nature of the project grew mythical. Did it ever finish? Was it a success or a failure? No official word. But then the phrase unseen footage exploded onto the scene, whispered by independent journalists claiming they got glimpses from a cloud server tied to an old production label. Some reported seeing Trump hiking across an arid plain, face streaked with sweat and dust, accompanied by a tough ex-military figure believed to be an instructor. Others talked about him quietly practicing intense mental focus, reading cryptic mantras, or confronting personal fears in a series of taped confessions. And apparently, these confessions were raw, full of regrets, doubts, and revelations about life at the top. Many watchers insisted it had the feel of a man wrestling with limitations and forging a new identity. But who funded this? Why was it filmed? And why bury it? That's where the story takes a turn. A certain hush overshadowed the final editing of the footage. The production staff parted ways. Some said that once Trump got what he needed from the footage, self-analysis, clarity, or proof of completion, he locked it away. No NDAs were publicly documented, but staffers obviously parted on discreet terms. The rumored approach: you'll be looked after, but mention the project and face consequences. Classic hush money, or just an extreme commitment to privacy. If it were simply a private documentary of personal growth, one might wonder, why not flaunt it? Did it reflect poorly on him? Did it show weakness, or maybe tears or vulnerability? Or, flipping the angle, was it so inspiring that releasing it might overshadow the bigger brand narrative he was carefully curating in public? Suppose he discovered a new mission in life, like championing personal development or mental health. Would that not be a PR boon? The fact that it remains locked suggests the footage might reveal something unexpected: transformations, epiphanies, or harsh truths. In the midst of all these questions, a single black and white still image leaked on certain social media channels. It supposedly depicted Trump, sweat pouring down his forehead, gripping a rope as though scaling a wall. The expression on his face was raw determination, almost anguish. The background looked like a dusty industrial yard. Yet no mainstream outlet confirmed the image's authenticity. Some experts said it was a well-done fake or photoshopped. Others compared it to the archivist's story about a warehouse. If real, it's the only known visual from that rumored training or challenge. Midway through this story, let me ask you, do you think the public has a right to see personal footage if it's recorded by someone so high-profile? Or does an individual, even a public figure, deserve the final say on what personal challenges remain private? Let me know in the comments what side you take on that. Now, let's shift to the concept of a life-changing challenge. It's one thing to say someone faced a crisis or a meltdown, but accounts suggest it was more structured, a well-planned regimen or quest, with a beginning, middle, and end, and a final test. Some whisper it was a martial arts discipline taught by a reclusive master. Others claim it was a grueling multi-day survival course, culminating in living off the land for a short time. Another rumor references a psychological mastery program, in which participants confront deep-rooted traumas or illusions. Could it be all of the above? One especially curious rumor hints that the challenge involved filming personal statements at each stage, culminating in a direct address to the camera. The final address, rumor says, was heartbreaking, with Trump acknowledging regrets about how public life had overshadowed personal growth. Perhaps an emotional meltdown, or maybe just a raw reflection. Some claim the footage shows him in tears for a brief moment. The notion of tears from a figure who often exuded unshakable confidence is so jarring that many dismiss it outright as pure fiction. But the archivist who spoke out said she believed the final confessional was the most genuine display of vulnerability I've ever seen. So if it's real, that final tape alone could rewrite public perceptions drastically. At this point, you might wonder, if such a revelation truly existed, wouldn't tabloids kill to publish it? Indeed, certain tabloids purportedly offered huge sums for any proof. But they never landed anything conclusive. The staffers, trainers, and production crew apparently disappeared into the shadows or changed industries. The archivist who first leaked the info, she posted a few updates, then vanished from social media. Maybe it was fear of legal blowback. Maybe hush money changed hands. Or maybe the entire story is a labyrinthine hoax. We can't say for sure. Nevertheless, the notion that Trump overcame a punishing trial stirs curiosity. Imagine a figure historically painted as proud or unyielding, forced to confront personal limits, physically, psychologically, spiritually. If a man like that emerges changed, what might he do next? Turn philanthropic? Pivot ideologically? Some watchers saw minor shifts in his later public appearances, occasional remarks about life being bigger than we realize, or learning who we truly are in adversity. They pointed to those quotes as subtle references to the challenge. Others argued it was overreading. The one sure thing is that about the time the rumored footage was completed, Trump's posture in certain interviews seemed calmer, less reactive. Could be a coincidence, or maybe the quiet legacy of this life-changing challenge. So, is the entire rumor conflated from random tidbits, or is there substance? A single name emerges, Olivia Lansing, a freelance cinematographer who posted an anonymous message under a different handle that read, "I never thought I'd see him that shattered or that determined." The camera captured truths no press conference ever would. He overcame something real. I wish the world could see. Of course, verifying Lansing's link to the project is near impossible. But if real, that statement is telling. He overcame something real. Overcame what? Fear? Physical pain? Ego? This is where a second puzzle emerges. The possibility the unseen footage was never meant for public eyes, but for a tight circle, maybe family members or a kind of legacy library. Some have pointed out that certain influential families keep private records, diaries, or films meant to pass down wisdom or cautionary tales to future generations. Could this project be a cinematic letter to the future, something that would only become known after many years? Another twist. A voice actor claimed they did overdubs for a man's personal documentary, featuring monologues that needed better audio. The actor recognized the voice as Trump's, but swore to secrecy. That's either a creative lie or one more thread weaving the tapestry of credibility. If the actor told the truth, it means some final editing was done, possibly with voiceovers added or clarified. That implies an intention to preserve the footage in a polished form. Yet no one has seen the final cut, if a final cut even exists. At this juncture, let's address the cynics who say, so what if he had a personal epiphany on film? Big deal. The big deal is how it might reframe public narratives. We see countless taped interviews and televised appearances projecting a certain bravado. Imagine if buried in a vault somewhere is raw proof of intense humility, vulnerability, even fear, that could destabilize how the world interprets his entire brand. Or inversely, it might inspire empathy, bridging divides by showing a universal human struggle. People often yearn to see powerful figures brought down to earth not out of schadenfreude, but to find common ground. This footage, if real, might do just that. From a psychological viewpoint, the concept of a life-changing challenge is reminiscent of a personal pilgrimage. Some undertake the Camino de Santiago or ascend Kilimanjaro for spiritual clarity. If Trump did something akin to this, but with cameras rolling, it suggests either a personal vow to record proof or an accountability measure set by whomever challenged him. Or perhaps it was an attempt to create an internal diary he could watch for self-critique. Considering how the footage vanished, the latter possibility might be the most plausible. We do know people sometimes record personal journeys only to keep them locked up, showing them to no one. Could that be the entire explanation? Here's my second question for you. Do you think revealing the raw vulnerability of a public figure helps society see them as more human, or does it risk undermining the public roles we rely on them to fill? Let me know your stance in the comments, because the debate about a powerful figure's personal confessions going public is forever divisive. Some call it necessary transparency. Others call it destructive to leadership mystique. As we near the conclusion, we must remember the central promise, that the final paragraphs hold a revelation about the unseen footage's hidden dimension. So let's deliver. Over the last year, one final rumor emerged from a single scrawl in a dusty corner of the internet. A claim that the unseen footage might not just depict physical trials, but also the moment Trump confronted a past personal regret, face to face with someone he had wronged or felt wronged by. This rumor states that the apex of the challenge wasn't scaling a wall or finishing some backwoods trek. It was a reconciliation scene, a scene that apparently left both parties in tears, captured in shaky camera frames. If true, it implies the life-changing challenge wasn't about muscles or endurance alone, but about healing an old emotional wound, possibly bridging a rift that shaped him for decades. One user wrote, "If the public saw that scene, it'd overshadow every notion we have of him. It's heartbreakingly beautiful. That final piece might explain why the footage stays buried. Perhaps it's too personal, too raw. Could be the next person in that scene demanded total privacy. Or maybe releasing it would complicate the carefully managed identity." Some watchers say if the public ever beheld Trump weeping an apology or cradling a lost friend, it might unify supporters and critics in an entirely new way. That might be beneficial for social unity, but detrimental to certain political strategies reliant on combative persona. So it remains locked away. In the end, we remain in partial darkness, with only fleeting glimpses of a man wrestling with trials beyond the boardrooms. The footage, if it surfaces, might reshape our concept of the human behind the name. Or it might be a letdown, grainy clips that fail to match the epic hype. Either way, the story is unstoppable, whispered across dinner tables, debated on message boards, captivating people who can't resist the thought of a man overshadowed by his own myth, quietly meeting his own limitations in a quest we only half comprehend. And there you have it. The labyrinth of rumors, testimonies, possible manipulations, and heartfelt hints that revolve around the unseen footage. A puzzle with no definitive solution, an enigma that only grows more tantalizing each time a clue or alleged snippet emerges. For now, that footage remains locked away, rumored to be stashed in a private vault or archived in a hush-hush digital repository. Meanwhile, the rest of us sit on the sidelines, imagining a tape that might reveal a Trump we've never known, a side shaped by sweat, self-doubt, perseverance, and maybe that final emotional confrontation that redefines what winning really means. So, do you want it to stay hidden, or do you demand to see it for yourself? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Because in an era craving authenticity, maybe, just maybe, this is the kind of raw testament that could remind us all that behind every icon is a person struggling to conquer their own private mountains. And with that final reflection, we close tonight's deep dive into a story that just might be the missing puzzle piece in the Trump saga. One day, when that footage emerges, the world might watch with bated breath as an unseen challenge stands revealed, transforming myths into something far more human than we ever expected.